Hari Om. Start with the prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pitatvameva Tvameva Bandhusya Sakhatvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Rudeva Deva. Hari Om. So the student asked the question in terms of, sir, when I negate everything, all the five koshas, there is nothing left for me to see even, then how am I going to know? So how can I be knowing myself, because there is nothing left for me to see or for me to know. There is no more knowable entity there once I reject all the five koshas, because these are the only five koshas or avastatrayas, the five states of experience: waking state, dream state and deep sleep state, and there is no other state that human experiences. Then how am I going to know? For that the teacher is going to respond, and this is in the sloka 215 and 216 that we take together. This is of the Viveka Chudamani. So Guru Ruvacha Satya Muktam Tvaya Vidvan Nipunosi Vicharani Ahamadi Vikaraste Tadabhavo Yamapyatha Tababhavo Yamapyatha Satya Muktam Tvaya Vidvan Nipunosi Vicharani Ahamadi Vikaraste Tadabhavo Yamapyatha Sarve ye nanubhuyante yasvayam nanubhuyate tamatmanam veditaram viddhi bhujya susukshmaya. Sarve ye nanubhuyante yasvayam nanubhuyate tamatmanam veditaram viddhi bhujya susukshmaya. So in the first he says, the student asks, Mithyatvena Nishiddeshu, because now I understood that all the five koshas are Mithya. Mithya means neither real nor unreal. Sadasat Vilakshanam is Mithya. And when he said that, the teacher at least appreciate that you have understood the Mithyatva nature of the Panchakoshas. Therefore, Satyamuktam Tvaya Vidvan Nipunosi Vicharani. So you have inquired and found out that these five koshas are neither real nor unreal. And therefore, at least you have come to a very clear understanding up to that point. Now the question is also in this, what else is left behind? And he teaches answers. He says, Ahamadi vikaraste tadabhavo ayamapyatha. So, atha ayam api tadabhavaha atha ayam api. So tadabhava. So let's say aham adi vikaraste, because they are vikaram, that means continuously modifying what? Aham adi, ahankaradi. Aham adi here is ahankaradi, that means ego and all that. That means all the five parts of the antakarana, that is manaha, buddhihi, ahankaraha, chittam, aham na. I am not any of them. So all those things are because vikaraha, they undergoes continuously modifications, and I am that which is permanent, or that is pratyagatma, which is same in all these changes, and changeless entity in the changing things, and therefore I am not. Tad abhavaha, I am apyatha, I am api atha. So tad abhavaha. So when I rejected everything, and that which cannot be rejected anymore, that's how I define tad abhavaha. This after the absence of everything is known by someone, that which cannot be dismissed. Because when I say there is nobody there in the room, say, how do you know? Because I can see. So if you are there to see, that means you are there at least. So if I see that there is none of them objects are me, that means there is one entity who is able to see that 5 koshas are not me. That means there is someone who knows that 5 koshas are not me. That knower cannot be known, because that is the self you are, and that's what is the answer that is the teacher. The very statement that there is nobody here proves that there is somebody there. At least the one who is making a statement has to be there. This is in fact is used by the Gaudapada to say that the so-called Kshanika Vijnanam is dismissed, because if I am there only to know that, and if I am also not there after that, the second knower comes in and knows the second aspect, and the third knower comes in and the third aspect, then I will not have any continuous knowledge here, because each knower knows only that aspect and he goes also along with the object that is known. So in the Kshanika Vijnanam, then who is the knower that there is a Kshanika Vijnani? Who is the knower that there is a continuous change of consciousness? That one has to be changeless entity, and that is essentially a constant conscious entity has to be there in the background to know that there is a Kshanika Vijnani also. There is a constant changing of consciousness. If I am conscious of the constant changing of consciousness, that I am conscious of is different from what I am conscious of, and that therefore I am pure consciousness which is changeless entities. So that has to be understood here. So tad abhave, so I am apyata. So that which is different from all this and that cannot be negated is the true Sakshi. So he is conscious of the existence and negation of all the 5 koshas, and that which cannot be proved by any means of knowledge is the Sakshi. So Sakshi cannot be known by a process of pramana. I thought that's what Vedanta is. Veda is meant for as a pramana to know who I am Brahman. Brahman is aprameyam, Brahman is the aprameyam, and subject I is also aprameyam. Why? Brahman is infinite, cannot be known. Because for knowing involves a knower, known, and knowing principle, a triputi. Therefore, cannot be Brahman, cannot be known as an object, because there has to be something other than the Brahman to know Brahman. Same way, I am also is aprameyam. That means it's not prameyam. Prameyam means is object of knowledge. Aprameyam means it's not an object of knowledge. Object of knowledge through a pramana, and need not be an object of knowledge, because I am self-knowing principle, self-conscious principle, and therefore I am self-existing. Therefore I am swadhinam, swadhinam sattvam. That means I am self-existent entity, where all objects depend upon my existence. Really? How can I know that chair is there? So unless I say there is a chair is there, I cannot, the chair, existence of the chair cannot be proved. So other people can prove it, but other people also has to be a conscious entity in order to establish the unconscious entity. If there is no conscious entity at all, then the existence of unconscious entity is indeterminate. Same thing happens in the deep sleep state, where I fold myself, therefore the whole world as though disappears, because there is no one to prove the existence of the world itself. Therefore no desires also. So here the ahamadi vikaraste tad abhavaha ayam apyata. So here it confirms here sarve ye na anubhuyante yasvayam na anubhuyate. So sarve yaha anubhuyante, because of which everything is known, and that which cannot be known by anything. See, sarve ye na anubhuyante yaha ya swayam na anubhuyate. I cannot be known by any process. Therefore it is aprameyam. process involves different from me, and I want to know myself, say what kind of process I need. I don't need any pramana to know myself. Then what is the Vedanta for? Vedanta only clarifies what I think I am is not really what I am. What I think I am is really pure Satchidananda Swarupam. It's pointing to the buddhi that you are not this, you are that, because of which everything this exists. And using this, I had to know that I am not this. Using the buddhi, I have to know that I am not buddhi, because without the buddhi, even this knowledge cannot occur. So, therefore, the kshetrajna, the knower of kshetram himself cannot know himself, the chaitanyam, but I need a kshetram to know there is a kshetrajna, and that's exactly why he says, Tam atmanam veditaram vidhi buddhya susukshmaya. So this is a very important statement that the teacher makes here. He says, Tam atmanam veditaram. That atma has to be known vidhi by using what? By buddhi. How? Susukshmaya, by very subtle process. So it is not an object for my knowledge, but it is a very subject because of which all objective knowledge takes place, and that has to be understood. So we gave that example of in the pitch dark room and say, are you there? Yes, I am there. Say, is a chair there? No, I cannot see anything here. I don't know anything exists at all or not, because I cannot see. So therefore, existence of any objects, I need a light to see. But for me to know that I don't need any light, because I am self-effulgent, self-entity. I don't need a light to say, there is no light here, let me put a light to see whether I am here or not. I don't have to say that. Or, yes, I am hearing you, so therefore by logic, I should be here. So I don't need a logic, I don't need a pratyaksha pramana, anumana pramana, even shabda pramana also I don't need to say I am there. Scripture doesn't have to tell me that I am there. In fact, scripture is useful only because I am already there and I am conscious entity. If I am unconscious entity, scripture cannot do anything. Therefore, scripture is also helpful only because I am a self-existent, self-conscious entity. Scripture is a pramana only to point out my misunderstandings, which I can reject it, and in the process I become self-revealing entity. I know who I am correctly without getting confused, because I am taking this as I am. I am not this, but I should know who I am. If I am not this, then who am I? That's what the question of this Shishya is. So who I am has to be known. Say, I am conscious entity. But conscious entity, is it a limited entity or unlimited entity? How do I know? For that only Vedanta says, then what about the objects? Are they really existing? Am I limited by the objects? Whole world limits me. For all that is only Vedanta is a pramana. It tells you how I am substantive or substratum of the whole universe also. For that I am Brahmasmi. Brahma means the whole universe including or me. For that is Advaita Vedanta is required, because I see Dvaitam, I see duality, and the scripture negates the apparent duality as not a reality, and what is reality is that which is very substratum, that which is the adharam, that which supports the whole thing, and what support is pure consciousness alone was there before. It's on the form of existence, and it is a one without a second, that itself became many. For all that is scriptures pramana. So I am as though separate from the is only my notion in the buddhi, and therefore buddhi has to be used. That's one aspect of it. So it's not beyond the buddhi that I had to realize. All, yes, we have studied it, all the intellectual, this knowledge is only intellectual, and I had to now sit down and meditate. This knowledge can only be intellectual, because intellect is required for vichara, because I have wrong notions. Wrong notions can only be removed by right knowledge, and nothing by sitting in the meditation I cannot know. And doing anything cannot be known. What I do in the seat of meditation is use the Vedantic knowledge to inquire within that I am not this and I am not. That is meditation. Meditation is rejecting what I am not and establishing what I am. That is what has to be done. I can reject what I am not and establish what I am only provided I have the clear knowledge of Vedanta. Vedanta means the ultimate science that includes both the subject, object and the relationships. All that is involved in this analysis. Therefore, this is Veditaram Viddhi Buddhya Susukshmaya. By subtle intellect I had to know. So we have discussed this a little bit. The intellect we can think of the Sukshma Buddhi and Tichna Buddhi. Tichna Buddhi is sharp intellect and Sukshma Buddhi is subtle intellect. And what's the difference between the two? For objective knowledge, I need a Sukshma Buddhi, Tichna Buddhi, very dissective, very clear-cut, distinguish, this is different, that is different, this is different, and so therefore to differentiate I need a very sharp intellect which cuts through. Sharp means that which is like a knife sharp which cuts through and distinguishes and makes this role of this class and the other one is different class and third one is third class. All difference, classification, codification, differentiation, all that is required for Sukshma Buddhi. I become using a sharp intellect, I am dividing smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, becoming a super and super specialist in narrower and narrower and narrower field because that's what I am cutting through. For that I need a cutting knowledge. So this is that's why people present it that this is a cutting knowledge, or this is what we are cutting edge. We are at the cutting edge. That's what the phrase is. That means we are using a very sharp intellect to know what is the absolute truth. That's what they want to divide the particles by cutting it. What's the fundamental particle of the whole universe? For that I need a Tichnam, a sharp cutter, and that's what the whole the quantum mechanics are trying to find out what is the fundamental particles by cutting, say that which particle which cannot be cut anymore. That is the end of the particle. But what is ignored is the one who is cutting. The one who is cutting is a conscious entity. I'm not talking about the instruments. Instrument is only function because there is a brain behind it. So it is the knower has to be there. A conscious entity is the one who is investigating it, and if you ignore the conscious entity and only analyze the only part of the system and say there's a fundamental for the whole universe, because universe includes both the conscious entity and unconscious entities. Together is the universe. Therefore, the science which is only objective knowledge, we are talking about only that science. So objective sciences can never discover or prove or disprove the existence of the conscious entity. Even though people are trying to investigate what is consciousness and they only come up to the point of some neurons and all that. All are only objectifiable entities, and all they can say is some combination of some state of neuron is consciousness arises. What does that mean? We don't know. Well, all it means is when they assemble these, then some consciousness suddenly arises. But from the point of Vedanta, consciousness cannot arise because it is Brahman. Brahman being infinite na udeti na astameti. It cannot arise and it cannot disappear. If it arises, who will know that it arises? It's a question also. If there is a rise of consciousness, there has to be conscious entity to know the rise of consciousness and disappearing of consciousness. And that conscious entity who knows the rise of this conscious entity has to be one which is eternal. And we are talking about that. Because consciousness cannot be divided. So I cannot analyze consciousness objectively because the analyzer is the one that is conscious entity. So subject cannot become an object of investigation by using objective tools. Therefore, I have to use susukshmaya, I have to use a very subtle intellect. So we are talking about Tichna Buddhi is not what is required. What we require is the Sukshma Buddhi. A subtle intellect is required. What is the subtle intellect? It is subtle intellect is that which is not analytical mind but a synthetic mind, a mind that which integrates, not divides. A sharp intellect divides, but here it integrates. Integration is opposite to differentiation. So therefore it integrates and see oneness that pervades the whole thing, that pervades all differences. So Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara is the differences, but we need a subtle intellect that pervades the Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara, and that which is indivisible in all these three divisions, and that is what Sukshma Buddhi. Now using the Buddhi only, because that's the only instrument I have, so from the point of the individual, I had to use the buddhi, but I had to use the sukshma, subtle intellect in order to differentiate what is real and what is not real. I had to use a viveka. For that only Chitta Suddhi is required, all the necessary qualifications are required, and all that we went through in terms of purification of the mind. Mind is buddhi, and purification involves making it introverted from the extroverted, to analyze when there are two things that are there, how I can differentiate the two things and see what is the real thing and what is not, what is mithya. That has to be understood. So the problem is now self-realization involves all the time these two combinations of Atma and Anatma. Together is always there. Because scripture says he has become many. So there is nowhere I can understand what is Satta, what is Chit and Ananda. There is no way I can understand, because he has many become plurality. So I had to use the plurality that I see to find out that which pervades the whole plurality, and that which is common, that which is one essence in all that. So through karyam, I had to find out what is the cause, karanam. Karanam is, we are not talking about the intelligent cause, we are talking about the material cause from which the whole universe came, by which it is sustained and into which it goes back. Yato va imani bhutani jayante, yena jatani jivanti, yat prem sabisham vishanti, tad vijnasasva, tad brahmeti. Know that is Brahman, from which the whole universe came, with all these distinguishings and differentiations of all varieties and varieties, including every knowledge that the chemistry, physiology, biology, all ologies are within the creation only. All came from one, and that one is sustained by one. That means it's not only the intelligent cause, it is a material cause, because it became many, and becoming is, it is a upadana karanam, and knowing the karanam, we know everything, products. So knowing the gold, we know all the ornaments, because gold is upadana karanam, whereas goldsmith is nimitta karanam. Going goldsmith, I will not know any of the ornaments, but going the material or the instruments or the upadana karanam, I will know what is that because of which the whole thing came. And here the upadana karanam and nimitta karanam cannot be separate, because there is only one to start with, and itself has to create from, and we went through the creation process, just as the spider putting forth the varieties of its own net. So from it only it came. So it is a nimitta, abhinna nimitta upadana karanam, undifferentiated, intelligent and material cause. And therefore I had to use the product only, karyam, to find out what is karanam. That's what every scientist also, looking at the product, I'd find out what is the cause for it, that caused this. And we are looking at that, all this whole universe, looking at anything that you can see, I can find out what is the cause, because one cause became many. That's the whole essence of Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi, Brahmajñau, Brahmanahudam, Brahmaivatena Gantavyam, Brahmakarma Samadhina. Because everything is Brahman only. So looking at the ladle, I say, this ladle is Brahman. So I don't need anything else to know other than looking at the ladle, this is Brahman. But I have to see Brahman in the ladle, that is Susukshmataya. I need a subtle intellect to see what is that which is cause, which is the cause for it, because what I see is not what is not really real, and what is not real is what is real I cannot see. This is why it is a subtle knowledge, and therefore the teacher wants, in fact, you have to know it. Tam atmanam, that atma, that self, veditaram, to be known, buddhya, using the buddhi, susukshmaya, by using a subtle intellect, susukshmaya buddhya, vidhi, has to be known or to be known. And that is what is going to be discussed more and more. We will analyze in the next talk. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.